My name is Julian Thorne. I am 68 years old, and I spent 35 years as an archivist for the National Historical Society. I organized the history of others. I cataloged their letters, preserved their photographs, created systems to ensure their stories would never be lost. I was meticulous. I was thorough. I prided myself on never letting a single document go unfilled, but I completely mismanaged my own life. I'm going to tell you something that I need you to really hear. The most dangerous thing in a marriage isn't a loud argument. It isn't infidelity or addiction or any of the dramatic failures you see in movies. It's the quiet construction of a wall you don't even know you're building, brick by brick, excuse by excuse, logic by logic. Until one day you look up and realize you're standing on opposite sides of something you can't climb over anymore. I was married to Elena for 38 years. To the outside world, we were the golden couple, intellectual, stable. We had dinner parties where people complimented us on how well we communicated. We never raised our voices. We never had those messy public disagreements that make everyone uncomfortable. We had order, we had systems. Our calendars synced perfectly. Our finances were immaculate. Our home was beautiful. Every book in its place, every surface clean, every detail curated. And I mistook all of that order for intimacy. I believed that because our lives were organized, our connection must be deep. I thought that because we never fought, we must understand each other perfectly. I confused the absence of conflict with the presence of love. But a well-organized life is not the same thing as a well-lived one. Elena worked as a teacher. She'd come home with stories about her students, about the small moments that moved her, and I would listen, or I thought I was listening, but really, I was categorizing, filing her words away into mental folders: work stress, social observation, needs solution. I treated her like a research project instead of a person. Let me tell you about something I call the intellectual filter. This was my habit, my defense mechanism, really, of treating Elena's emotional needs as problems to be solved or data to be categorized, rather than feelings to be shared. If she was sad, I gave her a book on stoicism. If she was lonely, I showed her our calendar of upcoming social events. If she was uncertain about something, I provided her with research and statistics until she agreed with my logical conclusion. I thought I was being helpful. I thought I was being a good partner by offering solutions. What I was actually doing was dismissing her. There was this community garden project she wanted us to do together. It was in a rough part of town, an abandoned lot that the neighborhood wanted to restore. Elena saw it one day and came home with this light in her eyes I hadn't seen in years. She said, "Julian, I want us to do this together. I want to help make something grow." And God, I can still see the look on her face. I pulled out my laptop. I showed her the soil toxicity reports for that area. I cited zoning laws and liability concerns. I calculated the hours it would take versus the return on investment of our time. I was so proud of myself for being thorough, for being right. I didn't realize I was being unavailable. She stopped asking after that, not just about the garden, about everything that mattered to her. She learned that bringing me her hopes meant watching me dissect them with logic until there was nothing left but reasons why we shouldn't try. 2 years ago, Elena had a stroke. It was sudden. She was fine at breakfast, and by evening she was in the ICU. She survived, but she was never the same. The woman who had been the quiet fixture of my life, always there, always organized, always fitting perfectly into our routine, was fading. I spent 3 weeks by her bedside. I organized her medical records. I created spreadsheets for her medications. I coordinated with doctors and nurses and made sure everything was documented properly. I was doing what I knew how to do. I was archiving her decline. On her last day of lucidity, when she could still speak clearly, when she still knew who I was, She looked at me with these tired eyes and said something that has echoed in this empty house every single day since. "Julian, I'm tired of being a reference point in your life instead of the story." Then she closed her eyes. She passed away 6 hours later. I sat there holding her hand, trying to understand what she meant. A reference point versus the story. In my profession, a reference point is a marker, something you use to orient yourself to find your way through other information. It's not the content itself, it's just a guide. She was telling me that I had treated her like a fixed point in my organized life, a constant, a given, something I referenced but never really engaged with. I had been so busy managing our life that I forgot to live it with her. After she died, I did what any archivist would do. I went through her things, and that's when I found them. Tucked inside the books in our home library, the very books I had given her to solve her problems, were postcards. Dozens of them, unsent postcards addressed to me. They weren't angry. That's what broke me. They weren't accusations or complaints. They were descriptions of beauty she had seen and eventually stopped trying to share with me. "Dear Julian, today I saw 2 elderly men playing chess in the park. They weren't talking, just moving pieces, and I thought about how beautiful it is to share silence with someone. I wanted to tell you, but I know you'll tell me about the history of chess or the cognitive benefits of strategy games. So I'm telling this postcard instead. Love, E. Dear Julian." There was a bird's nest in the gutter. The mother was feeding her babies, and I stood watching for 20 minutes. I felt something I can't name. I wish you were there, not to explain ornithology to me, but just to feel it with me. Love, E. Dear Julian, I missed the version of you from 1985 who didn't know everything yet. Love, E. I found 43 of these postcards. 43 moments she wanted to share with me but had learned not to, because I would analyze them instead of feeling them. I was physically present in our house for 38 years, but I was emotionally archived in my own head. Here's what kills me. I wasn't a bad husband. That would almost be easier to accept. I was a meticulous husband, a responsible husband, an adequate husband, and that was worse because it felt like love. It looked like love from the outside, but it lacked the soul of it. I need you to ask yourself something right now. Really ask it. When was the last time you let your partner be illogical without trying to fix them? When was the last time you heard their hope for something impractical and said yes instead of listing reasons why it won't work? Are you building a life together, or are you just managing a household? Because I managed a household beautifully. I managed it right up until the person I was managing it with was gone. Data can be retrieved, files can be recovered, information can be backed up and restored, but a shared moment, once dismissed, is deleted forever. Elena wanted to restore a garden. She wanted to make something messy and alive and unpredictable. She wanted us to get our hands dirty together, to not know if it would work, to try something that couldn't be solved with research and planning. And I gave her soil toxicity reports. I gave her logic when she was asking for life. There's a photo I look at every morning now. It's from 1985, before we were married. Elena is standing in the middle of an overgrown field looking back at the camera, at me, with this expression of pure hope. She's waiting for me to put the camera down and come stand with her in the mess of wildflowers and tall grass. She's inviting me into something unorganized and beautiful. And you know what I did? I took the picture. I composed it perfectly. I captured that moment for posterity. But I never put the camera down. I never walked into that field with her. I've been the map maker of my own life, so obsessed with drawing the lines of the terrain that I never actually stepped foot on the grass. I have the most accurate map in the world, but I never knew the scent of the flowers or the wind on my face. Don't be the architect of your own loneliness. If someone you love invites you into something messy, into something that doesn't make logical sense, into something that can't be filed or organized or solved, say yes. Let the garden be messy. Let the story be told. Let yourself be illogical and uncertain and present. Because you can have the most perfectly organized life, but if you're living it alone, if you've turned the person you love into a reference point instead of the story, then what exactly have you organized? An empty archive? A beautiful tomb? Tell me in the comments. What's one missed signal you're finally ready to acknowledge? What's one invitation from someone you love that you've been dismissing with logic? Subscribe if you want more reflections on what matters before it's too late. And then, please, close this screen. Go find someone you love. Don't fix them. Don't solve them. Don't categorize them. Just be with them, in the mess, in the uncertainty, in the beautiful, unorganized, unarchivable present moment, before it becomes another postcard they never sent.